go to these events, weddings. They can't go because of their children. But we are there, the event nanny, to take away the stress from the parents. You bring your children, we tag them. If you have a nanny, you come with them. They will just stay aside and watch while we take good care of your children. And I bet you while they are leaving, they'll be very happy. Some parents can testify to that. So parents, if you have any occasion, is it birthday, weddings, we're always there. You can follow us on Instagram at Event Nanny. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Event Nanny. Just by a show of hands, how many women have their babies upstairs? Oh, amazing. Peace of mind, right? Just like, she's just right up there. Fantastic. Can we take one or two more comments? Oh, you have a comment? Okay.
Hello, ladies. Good morning. It's been a very insightful conference. I've had to unlearn quite a number of stuff, and I've taken in so many new innovations right from the plenary sessions. And it's to let you know that you can succeed, you can make it. Other women in the house have shown us how, and we just have to plug ourselves in. So I'm ready to plug myself in to tell myself I can succeed. And I can look at myself in the mirror and tell myself I'm the CEO of the world.
Get it, girl, get it. All right, we'll take one more.
Okay, good morning, ladies. This is my first time at WIMBIZ. I'm Oyeyemi Florence.
Woohoo!
And I'm one of the female commissioner delegates from Kwara State.
Yay! Welcome,
And,
welcome, welcome.
It's such an opportunity to be here, which I do not take for granted. And one thing I learned yesterday that was really pertinent to me was about the syndrome, the imposter syndrome, because I'm coming from an educational setting, from a
Sorry,
school
can we
manager.
settle down so we can hear the
into
comments?
the public sector. Coming in as a commissioner is a big deal for me. And when I was called on to take up this responsibility, I felt to myself that, okay. Here I am. Sorry, everyone. So I was like, will I be able to do this? How can I bring out what I was doing in the private sector and move it into the public sector? Whether I like it or not, I'm now a politician. And I have to just do my best and present my best. So before I assume office, I think this is an opportunity for me to learn more and do more in my office. Thank you so much, WIMBIZ. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to, I'm just waiting for the all clear so we can do our first raffle for the day. I hope everyone has filled out, so people who are interested in having the opportunity to win the 1 million naira empowerment grant from Courtesy Sunlight. I hope you've taken the opportunity to fill the form, write out what, why you think you should be the recipient, or even recommend someone, because I think it's slowly coming to a close. Yes, or it has even closed. Okay, it's closed now. Oh, people are waving their sheets. So they said that when they went to the booth, no one was there. How many people still have their sunlight sheets with them? I have about 4 here. Can you give it to an usher? Can I have one hostess, please, to help me pick up? Can you wave it in the air so that she can pick up? 1, 2, now more people. Let me see if you have actually filled it. Okay. So can you recollect them, please, so that we can put them in for the draw? We believe in fairness.
Co-MC, somebody's going to come and tell you something real quick about that.
I'm sorry?
Someone's coming to meet you about that, to just tell you something about that process.
Okay.
Just a moment. But as we're waiting on that, we saved the best for last. We had a 9-year-old in our midst yesterday, and she's here again. So where are you? She would like to tell us what she learned yesterday. So come on over. Catch them young, right? Tell us your name again.
My name is Soy Bifa Jaja.
All right. So what did you learn yesterday?
My concern was really focused on the imposter syndrome. It makes me feel imposter syndrome. It taught me that even though you work hard and success, imposter syndrome will make it as if your work has been wasted.
So you learned that that's something that you need to fight, right?
Yes.
Let me give her a round of applause.
Talk about catch them very
Catching
young.
them young. That was awesome. We had one more person, and then we'll wrap this up.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so what I learned yesterday was I used to pride myself in being very direct, you know. I say it as it is. And over the years, I've lost so many things, and I felt, you know, I just have to be myself. But when I listened to the professor yesterday, you know, about being politically, you have to play the politics. So I learned that, yes, it's good to be direct, but you have to be diplomatic, you have to be, you know, you have to balance it. It's not everything you say, you know. That's one of the things I learned. Thank you.
Thank you. Co-MC, can we take one more?
Yes,
Okay.
we're just waiting. We're waiting for the last entries to go in the draw.
Okay.
There's someone on this side that is waving their hands to ask a question.
Okay, I'll come to her in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay. Standing on the existing protocol, it's my first time at WIMBIZ.
Do we have a round of applause for the first timers at WIMBIZ? It can be
sure.
intimidating, so
No.
we welcome you.
Okay, so I'm happy because I learned a lot because in terms of taking our seats on the table, before then I was the secretary to the legal committee of the Nigeria Insurance Association. So when the seat of the chairperson was vacant, I was nominated.
Sorry, can we
but I
keep
actually
the
toned
noise
it
level
because
down? We can hardly hear her.
I felt I could do better in the supportive role, but today I'm happy that I took up the seat of the president of the legal committee of the Nigeria Insurance Association, and this is a learning point for me.
Thank you. Someone over here?
I'm not. Do we have any more questions here? Feedback from yesterday? Comments? Someone over there?
Do we have a man
Ronke.
maybe that wants to say something?
At the back?
Okay.
Third row from.
All right.
Good morning, all. My name is Glory. My first time too at the WIMBIZ conference. Well, it was a great session yesterday, great sessions. And the one I really picked was the fact that, you know, your experiences, especially in Africa, is very important. I'm an only child, and my father is a military man, was a military man. So there was this, you must behave like a man. And you know, there's a part where you get to when you're a lady, yeah, and your parents are putting too much pressure. You set overly high goals that are not realistic. But one thing I took from the question yesterday a lady had asked, they said your goals, they have to be smart. You must set goals that are realistic and things that you know truly people have achieved, and you set it along that line. So to an extent, that imposter syndrome thing, it really worked that I understood better how to set goals the right way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that was a nice recap of yesterday's events and yesterday's conversations. I think everyone has different highlights. Adironke and I were speaking earlier as to what our favorite parts of yesterday were, and we both seemed to agree that it was difficult to pick just one highlight because there were nuggets that were shared all through. From our conference chair's opening to the keynote address by the First Lady, to each panel, starting with the Old Boys, navigating the Old Boys Club, and really seeing how the Old Boys Club works. Ronke actually made a comment and said that she felt that WIMBIZ was grooming an old girls club as well. So hopefully in the future, the clubs will be on par with each other, and we wouldn't be threatened that one was taking more prominence than the other. A lot of people have spoken about the imposter syndrome session because it's such a hot topic, especially for women. And the light that was shone on it and just the insights using personal examples were very good. Our seats at the table was also very insightful. We had people from very varying, differing works of life being able to bring it in to explain to us exactly how it is to command these seats, maintain these seats, and prepare the seat for others to also come into. The deep dive sessions were not any different. How many people attended deep dive sessions yesterday? And how many people enjoyed their deep dive sessions yesterday? Excellent. Of course, it's impossible for you to be in all deep dives at the same time, but the ones that I attended were very, very, very insightful. And I'm sure in fact, I think that everyone was pretty much packed and full. So today we're looking forward to also having that sort of energy. We want to ensure that the energy is right. It's the last day of the conference, which will be topped off with the after party. I already talked about that a little before. I don't want to overemphasize it. I don't want people thinking that I'm only here for the party. I want us to focus. But yes, the party is going to be lit. Litty, as we youngins say.
Yes.
Yes, youngins. While we wait for the recap by our amazing conference chairperson, Honorable Justice Rose Ikeji, we will be taking the Sunlight Empowerment raffle draw. Yes, it should be now.
Before we get to that, can I just say something?
Yes, of course.
So I wanted to talk about the feedback forms. Yeah, really important. How many of you have filled out a feedback form from yesterday?
How many people have received it? How many people, can we just let's know how many, so we know. Have you not received it because you haven't checked your email, or it went to spam, or you blocked us? Huh? You haven't received it. Some people haven't actually received it. Please, if you have actually not received it and you've checked your email, can we have a show of hands so we can figure out if there's a problem?
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we encourage those that have received it to kindly fill it?
Yeah, really important. It really helps the conference planning committee make things better and better. WIMBIZ gets better every year, and that's what it should do, right? So So with your feedback, it's really helpful in that regard. So please, 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 there are feedback forms for every plenary session, every deep dive, so that we can be very
I think there's
specific.
feedback forms for us too.
Are there? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think we're going to be evaluated.
It's like a report card.
I hope I pass.
Yes.
Okay, so, and then for the people that haven't received it, I will have a conversation with someone at the secretariat to figure out if maybe they're sending them out in batches or if there's a reason. But please check your junk, check your spam. A lot of times, emails from people that you don't receive from frequently, it goes there, so it filters into your spam or your junk. So please kindly check that to ensure that it's not there. Okay.
So, yeah. All right, so we're going to take a quick 5-minute recess. Please use the opportunity to maybe even get out of your seat and not too far away.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Not too far away.
We finally got
us
everyone to
settle
settle back
is a bit
in.
hard.
Yes,
so
yes.
not too far away, but again, take advantage of the break and maybe meet a couple more people, give out a couple more business
cards. Can we make
cards.
it 3 minutes?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So make it 3 minutes.
So 3 minutes, just network in your section. That way you don't have to walk too far. And then we'll be back with the sunlight moment.
Yes.
Yes.
To say everybody that is supposed to leave
Don't
is
say
not
it, don't say
collecting
it.
a present. Please go and start lining up at the consulars of the places that you want to go to. Go and start taking all those exams that you need to take.
Tommy, are you going to plead the fifth on whether you're for
No,
or
me?
against? What are you for?
Let me tell you, I don't have a singing voice. Me, I love my country.
I love my land and people, everything he did for Nigeria. Make we join hands to make Nigeria better.
We can't leave. If we leave, how are we going to come for WIMBIZ conference if all of us have moved out?
They'll stream online, girl. It's the new age. Sorry to burst your bubble. But don't leave, oh.
It's not the same.
Don't leave.
It's not the same. But on a serious
Yeah.
note, it's going to be a very hot debate because being honest, personally, the option of leaving is just not something that has ever been on the table for many, many, many years. After returning, But now I find that even people who came back in a hurry and never had the discussion before are beginning to have the discussion.
Yeah.
So this is a very timely topic.
Absolutely.
And I guarantee you it's going to be hot. You know how they say it's going to be hot, hot.
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot, hot. And we need your energy to ensure that the points are driven home.
It's going to be really good.
So I think that our conference chair is ready. Yeah, okay. So would like to introduce to the stage again, ladies, I will not tolerate if we're not quiet and paying attention. No. Did you, I don't think people listened to her bio yesterday. Anyway, when she comes on stage. Could we put a round of applause, our hands together, for Honorable Justice Ukeje? Can we keep the applause going? Thank you so much. Ma, we're truly, truly honored to have you with us.
Yes, fine. Yes. Again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the hall is full. You know that habits die hard. Oh. I said good morning. And I said that you know that habits die hard. Have been a joy for ever so long. And on the bench, we don't say sorry. I would have said, I'm so sorry. It wasn't deliberate. It is the traffic. I suggest that one of the results of this meeting will be how to control the traffic, particularly when your chairman is coming to chair. But all the same, I apologize. I woke up early, I did everything, but you know, you can't control certain things. So here I am at last. I'm glad to be here. My position this morning is to give a rundown of what happened yesterday. I didn't get the committee conferences rundown of what happened. I wrote something, and I'm more comfortable with what I wrote. And I crave your indulgence to let me use what I wrote. I will correct later if there's anything to correct. I said, as the chairman of the 18th WIMBIZ Annual Conference 2019, I've been charged with the task of a recap of day one of this conference. A lot of information, so please let me apologize in advance if I have missed out anything. Now that that is out of the way, I will now summarize briefly my take from the keynote address, the 3 interesting plenary sessions, and the 6 deep dive sessions. But before I give my summation, I would like to applaud the Board of Trustees, the working committees, on putting together this event and thank them for giving me the opportunity to permeate the gathering with my sense of what they call my sense of humor. We don't have sense of humor. You say it as you see it. The turnout is indeed a testament to how WIMBIZ has come and the potential yet untapped. The keynote speaker, Her Excellency Erelu Bisi Adeleye Fayemi, concluded her address with 8 salient points. She asked that we do the following in a bid to strategize and to win. 8, understand patriarchal powers and privilege. 2, utilize affirmative action to level playing fields. To have an agenda for change. To pass on a legacy. She engaged politically, use networks strategically, mentor, prepare for transition. Permit me, I always say what I see in court. At this stage, I believe she had a hot flush and asked for a fan. Her police oddly practically rushed off the stage and nearly tripped, but she got the fan anyway. And that showed that she was definitely prepared for that transition. Lastly, bring out our rappers. Support one another, surround, shield, protect, and help each other. I can see not many people are tying rapper. I'm tying one. Plenary 1, collaborating to win, navigating the old boys club. Uju Ifejika amused me by taking affirmative action and deciding how long she would speak, not the 5 minutes allotted to her. She explained how financial loss toughened her alongside tough punches, buttressing the keynote speaker's point of having an agenda for change, that is being malleable. Aswe Igodalo stated that I was the king of Old Boys Network. We have a deep dive regarding that statement. He explained that various networks are available by birth, by marriage, by friendships, by relationships and schools, and pointed out the fact that many people do not tap into these readily available networks. His statement that women do not help themselves enough elicited a reaction from the crowd, which I think is food for thought. Discussions around godfatherism and sponsorship were also touched on, and the general consensus was that if done right, placing hard work, competence, passionate people with integrity is acceptable. Ensure the right person gets the job. Suggestions on how to close gender gaps were also deliberated upon. Informal power structures should aim to strengthen girls' club. Be intentional. Know what you are gunning for. Survey companies. Gather statistics on gender. Split across management levels. Discover potentials in women. Don't apologize when you are being affirmative. Don't be tough only on your girls. Also raise your sons right. You remember the yellow cup? Yeah. Look at yourself as a person and not as a woman. African men need to change their mindset too. I particularly like the statement by Aswe Igodalo. Women are not entitled. They are embattled. They work twice as hard. I think I worked 4 times as hard. At the second plenary session, moderated by Bola Adeshola, our seat at the table, statistics of 40% clerical jobs and 17% executive positions are held by women were shared. The qualities of women in the workplace, that is hardworking, passionate, leadership qualities were mentioned. However, Yimika Adeboye's example of enabling environment she worked in showed that women who succeed are primarily products of organizations that practice gender-based equality. Rising on the job is also driven by persistence, interest, determination. Interestingly, Claire Parangelo stated that more often than not, we place expectations on the lone woman on a board to bear the burden of the arduous task of pulling other women up. However, before we advocate for other women, it was recommended that things must be done right so that there is no basis for criticism. Next, beware of gender bias. Show criteria for promotion, transparent for systems of promotion, men versus women, those making the decisions. Know what you want and state same in career conversations. Mentors, believe in yourself. The third plenary session, the imposter syndrome, myth or truth, with Folake Adele as moderator, explained that the imposter syndrome is recognized to affect both men and women equally. Being an imposter makes you feel to belong, however, the feeling does not translate to achievement. Factors which make this imposter syndrome worse: the belief system that tells you that you are not good enough as the next person. Perfectionism, when you set an unattainable high bar for yourself. There are various forms of imposter syndrome. Self-doubt, unable to connect with achievement. Discuss several types of fears and how to break the use of imposter syndrome as a shield. Deep dive session 1A, reaching the unplugged. There was focus, consistency, accessible, inspirational, functional benefits. Strategies that are media neutral, communications, e.g. radio, billboard. 2, branding. 3, proximity, marketing. And 4, affordable. Basics about launching a product: knowing your consumers, making product accessible to consumers, use of communication aids. The 3 A's: acceptable, availability, affordable. Target, willingness to pay for product. Offer right value for the right price. Question: deep dive session 2C, staying ahead of the game. Coaches, mentors, leaders, peers, proteges, mentees, the value of networking, the use of reverse mentoring, how you use social networking to build your platform, personality types, connecting intelligence. Shaping the future, strategizing to win. Mahatma Gandhi said, and I quote, "The future depends on what you do today." We have touted the same phrases across all plenaries and deep dive sessions: mentorship, networking, affirmative action, harnessing potential. Now that we know what we need to do, it is time to hit the ground running and put the heels in motion. Those abysmal Nigerian statistics need to change, and there is no better time than now for all of us sitting in this hall. I thank you and God bless you.
Good morning to our conference chairperson, members of the board, and our executive council, and of course, all the wonderful and beautiful women and men in the room, and all our sponsors and media partners. I personally want to use this opportunity to refer to this year for me at WIMBIZ as the elasticity of tenacity. It's the title I would give a book if I was to write about the experience of this year, 2019, about WIMBIZ. I use the term tenacity because it sort of defines the quality of being determined, persistent, and continuing to exist. And WIMBIZ does have a lot of tenacity. But I use elasticity because with elasticity, when you stretch anything to capacity, it still comes back to its normal form. And so for us at WIMBIZ, I would say it was the elasticity of tenacity. I hope we all remember that. 2019 represented a year of review, evaluation, and recommitment. It re-emphasized for many of us the need to fortify the mission of WIMBIZ and why we exist. We had various programs, as you can see in your conference brochures. All the pictures are there. A lot of committee members that have helped us to successfully do this over and over again. A lot of sponsors and partners, both grant partners and media partners that have also helped us to continue to do what we have done over the years, and this year in particular, successfully. But it's important for me to mention some significant programs, even though they are in your conference brochures, that have had, in a way, have added to the milestones of achievement of WIMBIZ as an organization. First of all, for the WIMBIZ Roundtable launches, we were able to expand to Akwa Ibom in Uyo this year. I know that there are some Uyo women in the room. Are we here? They visited all the way, and we had over 121 women in attendance, and we had the privilege of having Mrs. Buki George to share on her entrepreneurship experience. Again, with WIMBIZ Capital, our training, our female entrepreneurship training program, which has been supported by ACT Foundation for over 3 years now. This year, NLNG also supported us to come to Bonny. In fact, they flew in all our speakers, our facilitators, NLNG, all the way from Lagos to train over 200 women in Bonny there. I'm sure you can see the pictures of a large crowd. And the interesting thing was that they also sponsored women from the local community to attend that training and be impacted. We were at Usman Danfodio University in Sokoto this year, and over 800 men, young students, undergraduates, both male and female, came out. And the interesting thing is that this is the first time we have gone further into the north for a program of this nature. And I will admit that a lot of them were actually surprised that WIMBIZ came and commended us, and most of us that traveled there were there for the first time. One of the most important things that happened this year, well, two things really. We had our Women on Boards program, the local, well, I won't call it, the Nigerian Institute for the Women on Boards that had been headed by, we have a committee, all our programs have committees, but the Committee on WIMBIZ Institute had actually planned for a full year and more months before they executed the WIMBIZ Institute that held this year, led by Ms. Foluke Abodering. And for this first set of fellows that were trained by the Nigerian Institute, we graduated 56 of them, and they were trained on board effectiveness. Then we had our Women in Politics Committee that helped to plan about 3 programs this year, our Women in Politics Town Hall, our Women in Politics Training, and then also our Women in Politics Dialogue in Abuja. But they also went ahead to organize a courtesy visit to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who has actually made a commitment to WIMBIZ that they would review the Constitution of Nigeria during his tenure to try and ensure that there is gender parity and some form of equality in the political space of this nation. Another first for WIMBIZ was that the Nigerian Stock Exchange invited WIMBIZ for a closing gong ceremony on October 25th of this year, the first gender-focused organization to achieve that feat. And the chairman of the board of trustees, Mrs. Fumi Roberts, was there to sound the closing gong and was also supported by Mrs. Ifoma Igodalo and our chairperson and a few of us from the executive council. Now, as we round up for the year, I cannot step down without first of all thanking my council of elders. I consider myself one of the very few privileged women in this room to have the opportunity to be surrounded by very strong mentors. You see, I see them as 13 mothers, 12 mothers and one man. And I'm privileged because I have access to be advised, to be guided, to be reprimanded. And they say it as it is. And I keep learning and growing from that experience. I also use this opportunity to appreciate the chairman of the board of trustees, Mrs. Fumi Roberts, and also the chairperson of the executive council, Mrs. Olubumi Aboderin Talabi, because I have served with them together for 2 years, and their tenure ends together today, as will be announced at the end of today. In these 2 years, we have laughed, we have cried, we have fought, we have made up, we have done everything that any couple would do. But above all, we are still standing. And the beauty with WIMBIZ is that it doesn't matter how we are ruffled, we still stand strong and we keep doing what we do excellently well. I use this opportunity to appreciate members of the Executive Council for all their support, members that have served on various committees, a lot of volunteers that avail themselves, grant partners, sponsors, media partners. People keep asking, how do you do what you do successfully well? It's partnerships that work, actually, and those that have struck gold. And I know that WIMBIZ has struck gold in many ways because we still have a very strong support system. I learned so much from the personalities in the room, and I think it helps us to agree to disagree, and at the end of the day, keep moving forward. I also thank the people that, I think I get a lot of glory, but the truth of the matter is that I really want to appreciate the secretariat staff. A lot of people may not realize it, but they do pay a very heavy price for everything that comes out as successfully as it does, because they do a lot of all the nitty-gritty work and a lot of all the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, all those executions. And I really want to thank them for their dedication. I mean, even before this conference, I can remember it was around 1 a.m. I think the day before the conference started, they were also exhausted. And I just entered the room and I said to them, this is the time that I want to see that teamwork really does work. And by the time we finished that motivation, I tell you, they worked till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And they worked because of the motivation to just want to see everything work successfully before they went home and came back the next day. So I really want to appreciate the secretariat staff for always making me look good. I am not that perfect, but they help me and they do a lot. Once again, as I step down, I just want to appreciate every single person that has made the WIMBIZ dream, the WIMBIZ vision, the WIMBIZ mission a reality. And remember, it is the elasticity of tenacity.
Next, we're going to announce the Sunlight Entrepreneur Grant, and it's going to be done by Mrs. Bumi Adeniba. She is the marketing director of Home Care Unilever for Ghana and Nigeria. A round of applause for her. Just to let you know that this grant is not a raffle. All the entries have been read, which is why we had to stall because of the last few ones that we collected. Each entry has been read, and I think about a few people came together to make the choice. So I'm going to hand over to her now. A round of applause, and thank you.
Good morning, distinguished delegates. Thank you very much. I feel very privileged to represent Unilever and a 140-year-old brand, Sunlight, to do this. And the reason why we do this is because we identify with what WIMBIZ is doing to empower women. That's what we've always done. Myself and a few of my colleagues here, we were really blessed to have an 8 to 5 that gives us the privilege to be the center of purposeful stories. Examples of women like Ajia Zainab, who with just a seed capital of 25K from us, today is trading in millions. We've got Sunlight Water Centers across Nigeria. One woman is giving potable water to our community and also making a living out of that. It gives us pride that that is not just work, it is purposeful living. And the powerful millennials that we recently worked with, two of them, just in May 2019, got 2 million naira grant each to expand their fashion business. And another two curated a collection that we describe as the Sunlight Fashion Collection, and we're proud to share some of those collections. A few of us today will walk out with some of their pieces. It gives us joy that we're able to do that. But then, as we just heard, the story doesn't end here, because we're delighted to give another 1 million naira to an entrepreneur today. Okay. Thank you so much. So to join us to make this presentation, we have the privilege to announce and request the presence of Mrs. Ifoma Idigbe, Trustee WIMBIZ. Thank you. Mrs. Soromida George, the Corporate Affairs Director and Sustainable Director, Unilever, Ghana and Nigeria. And whilst they're coming up, just whilst they're coming up, a few of the chairs, we're sorry we couldn't do 100%, a few of the chairs have some little tiny tokens from Sunlight, so if you just check under them, some of the dresses from these millennials that we're proud of, a few planners, supply of products, just a few of the chairs, just a few of them, you know. Thank you so much. All right. And if this story, thank you, the delegates. If this story resonates with you.
Okay, delegates.
All right. We'll do that quickly now.
Can we move to the center of the stage?
So we will give this presentation to you at the end of the meeting. Okay, I need to get.
All right, ladies. All right. So how many people? Oh! Wait, I'm coming. I want to go and check under my chair. I'm coming. I'll be back. Okay, so can we please settle down?
And to the grand prize, the 1 million naira.
Okay, can we settle down? Because the grand prize, you still stand the opportunity to win that. So can we settle down so that Bumi can award the grand prize?
Yes, let's do that. Yeah. So all your gifts is redeemable at the booth.
Ladies.
All your gifts are redeemable at the booth.
Bumi, see what you have caused.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
See what you have caused.
Sorry. Anyway,
okay.
So I'm going to dig right into it just in the interest of time. We had 3 people from WIMBIZ.
Can we settle down? Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
All right. So we read the 50-word story that we requested for, just to be sure it resonates with the brand. And
sorry, ladies, we can't hear Bumi. Thank you.
Can I go on now? So we requested that you give us a complimentary card of yourself or the person you recommend, and we asked for 50-word story. We only wanted to be sure that it resonates with the brand and that you are employing another woman. That's the reason why we asked you to do 50 words. And today, with so much joy, we're pleased to announce that the winner of the Sunlight 1 million naira empowerment grant is Mrs. Tosin Bamiro. Mrs. Tosin Bamiro, if you're here, please come up. So I'll tell you a little about Mrs. Tosin. She is a mother of a 6-year-old triplets with a bakery business that she inherited from her parents, and she's running for the last 5 years, produces over 3,000 loaves daily, empowering mostly women brand hawkers and distributors who take the bread around. We're pleased to support what Mrs. Bamiro is doing. Where do I go?
Thank you very much to Sunlight, and congratulations to our mom of triplets. Another round of applause, ladies. Don't be jealous, oh. When it's your turn, they will celebrate you too. All right, we're going to move very quickly now to our very first plenary session of the day. And this one is a really exciting one because when it comes to money, money starts up here, right? And a lot of the reasons why a lot of people don't break into their wealth is because of what they're thinking and what their mindset is. So I'm really excited about this panel. And to tell us how to develop a wealth mindset, we've got an amazing panel of speakers and a moderator. Our moderator is who I'm going to call up first, Samke, and I had to ask her how to pronounce her name. And I'm really proud of myself because I think I got it. If you look at the brochure, it's not what I'm about to say. It's Longo. Yes! She's the founder and chief executive of the Next Chapter Wealth Partners. It's a consultancy that specializes in corporate training workshops in the field of personal wealth management. Now, through her consultancy, she has established herself as an international wealth coach with clients including Standard Bank, Liberty Holdings, and MTN. And her presentations have been delivered across South Africa through to Kenya and Cyprus. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator for this panel. Oh my goodness, come on, let's welcome her. What happened? So our panelists have very extensive profiles, but because of time, we can only take a bit of their profiles. Coming up next is one of our panelists, Sanyade Okoli. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Alpha African Advisory Limited, based here in Lagos. She has over 24 years of financial advisory, private equity, corporate commercial and management finance, and auditing experience. She has led many advisory transactions in the areas of mergers and acquisitions, capital restructuring, and strategic advisory. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sanyade Okoli. We have to keep the applauses going and make them nice and encouraging. Up next, we have Kai Orga. She is the Managing Director, ARM Investment Managers. She's responsible for providing strategic leadership for the company, establishing long-range goals, strategies, plans, and policies. She has over 21 years of experience in the banking and asset management industry. Her experience spans across financial planning, wealth management, sales and business development, customer relations, credit and marketing, business administration. We can clap, oh. And human and personnel development, market expansions, amongst others. Please welcome Kai Orga, ladies and gentlemen, the few gentlemen in our midst. Also on this panel is Fumi Oyetunji. She started her career spans 35 years, and she started in accountancy practice with many firms, and then she joined Fountain Trust Merchant Bank in 1993, and then moved to First Bank of Nigeria, where she became the bank's treasurer in February of 2001, a position she held until May 2002, and in 2002, she was appointed chief executive of Abitos Financial Services Limited, which is a real estate development and investment company, and she holds that position till today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Fumi Oyetunji. And last but certainly not least, we have Ronke Shokefu. Now, her career spans from somewhere in the 80s till now, but I'm going to pick it up from 2011, where she was appointed Special Advisor, Director General, Bureau of Lands and Survey, the first female to be appointed to that position in 2011. In 2012, she was appointed the Commissioner for Agriculture, a position that she held until the expiration of the incumbent governor's first term. And then in October of 2015, she was reappointed into the governor's second-term cabinet as the Commissioner for Agriculture. She was reassigned to the Ministry of Urban and Physical Planning, again, the first female to hold that position. And that was in 2016. She held that position till 2019. And then in 2018, she was nominated by the President of the Federal Republic as the chairwoman of the board of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, the first female to be appointed to the corporation's to that role in the corporation's 30-year history, and she was confirmed by the Senate. You have to own it. Own it. I love that. She was confirmed by the Senate in December 2018, and she's a member of the directors, the Nigeria Bar Association and the International Bar Association. She attended several training programs locally and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, your panel on the wealth mindset.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Ladies, please allow me to stand as I do the opening. In my culture, it is rude to address elders while sitting down. So if you would allow me, please. Thank you. Conference Chair, Honorable Justice Rose Ukeje, WIMBIZ Chair, Mrs. Olubumi Abodarin Talabi, the WIMBIZ Board of Trustees, the WIMBIZ Executive Council, ladies, a few brave gentlemen, all protocol observed, a very good morning to you. My name is Samkem Mhlongo, and I am from South Africa. It would be remiss of me to start this panel without first apologizing for the behavior of my fellow countrymen to yours over the past couple of weeks. I understand that there has been a lot of fake media being peddled. I understand that there have been a lot of false news also coming around those events, but that does not excuse how we as a country in modern history have treated our fellow African brothers and sisters. And so for that reason, I stand here to first and foremost apologize, assure you that this is not a reflection of the majority of the country, and assure you that there are a number of South Africans that look forward to a Pan-African African society. We also need to always be aware of who stands to benefit when two of Africa's biggest economies are constantly at war with each other, and fight those outside forces to create a united Africa. I first came to hear of the WIMBIZ conference in 2016 when, no surprise, reading the book, The Smart Money Woman, by the Smart Money Woman herself, Ariste Ugu. And at that time, I was a 31-year-old South African sitting in her house, having gone through a 2-year bitter divorce after 8.5 years of marriage. No need to crack your brain with the math, I got married at 21. At the time, I was a banker for one of Africa's largest and best private banks, but I didn't participate in the management of my own finances. And this became true and apparent when I was going through my divorce. All I had to do in my 8.5 years of marriage was pay out 2 helpers, the gardener, the driver, buy groceries, and the rest would go to designer clothes, shoes, and bags. But that behavior is not unique to me. Because according to the UBS Investor Watch report, 58% of women worldwide defer long-term financial decisions to their spouses, putting their financial security at risk. This report looked at 3,700 high net worth women globally, married, divorced, widowed, across the world. 85% of women take care of day-to-day decisions in the home, but men handle the long-term planning, with only 23%, less than a quarter of all women taking charge of long-term planning. Now, you may be sitting in your chair as a millennial and say that this is cultural. It's a legacy of the olden days, but actually, millennials, we are worsening this trend, because 55% of women aged over 50 take the lead when it comes to their finances, compared to 59% of women aged 20 to 34 who do the same. What could the reason be? According to the 2019 Understanding the Diversity of Women's Wealth report by the Wealthy Her Network, a British network founded to champion women to make better financial decisions, of the 2,500 women surveyed in the UK, this is not just an African phenomenon, 70% said that they have an average or below average level of self-esteem, confidence, when it comes to long-term financial decision-making. And 36% of them lack the knowledge of engaging in financial decision-making, and they fear getting it wrong. In their words, they fear looking stupid given their outward success. Who are these women who are profiled? About half of them are worth between 1 million and 5 million pounds. 10% are worth more than 10 million pounds, the rest falling somewhere in between. Yesterday, we spoke about the imposter syndrome. At that level of wealth, they still feel the imposter syndrome when it comes to managing their finances. They still don't feel good enough to ask questions and take the lead on financial management. Financial management, ladies and gentlemen, is not a nice to have, as death is a certainty of our spouses. The timing is the only thing that is uncertain. But aside from death, divorce and illnesses of spouses is on the rise as well. In South Africa, for instance, 4 out of 10 of all marriages end in divorce before their 10-year anniversary. And these are the 2019 figures released by the South African Department of Home Affairs. And this is close to the US divorce rate of about 40 to 50% of all marriages. In Nigeria, it is significantly more difficult to measure with accuracy the level of divorce, as there's a high number of traditional marriages that are not governed by law, and the requirement of separation before a couple can be legally divorced as well. Divorce aside, the passing of a spouse. 2015 World Bank Africa Poverty Report reported that by the age of 65, there are as many married women as there are widows. By age 80, 80% of all women are living in widowhood. From South Africa through to Zimbabwe, Kenya, and Nigeria, the plight of Africa's widows and the inheritance of assets and property by them is the same, nearly non-existent. I don't mean to be alarmist, but I want to highlight that whether you are unmarried, married, divorced, or widow, there is a high chance at some point in your life you will have to face the consequences of your long-term financial planning decisions or lack thereof alone. It is therefore crucial for us to develop a wealth mindset if those consequences are to be favorable. Mindset is easy to define. Wealth, not so much. And luckily, it is not my task to do that, but rather that of my first esteemed panelist, Soyade, who's going to describe for us her take on wealth mindset as a concept and the different ways in which wealth can be defined. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please give her a round of applause. Devil is a liar.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, thanks for that, Samke. And indeed, the devil is a liar. So just, we're talking about developing a wealth mindset. So let's break it down. What's wealth? Wealth is about abundance. It's about an abundance and having plenty of different things. Now, I know the context of today's session is about financial, but then let's also remember that there are different aspects of wealth. There are relationships, there's health, there's so many different aspects. And I think first thing is to think of who you are and think of what matters to you, and you begin to define wealth for you in a holistic standpoint. Because if you don't, you might find that you get somewhere and yes, you have the financial wealth, but you don't have the relationships, you don't have the health. Basically, you're not in the position to enjoy the wealth that you have built. Wealth is not an end in itself. Wealth is actually a means to an end. It's essentially something to enable you to be able to live a good life, to be able to enjoy life, and to be able to be a blessing to yourself and those around you. But then let's look at mindset. What's mindset about? Mindset really is about the thoughts and beliefs that we have about a particular, about anything really. And our mindsets, our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions affect what we go on to do and to say, because the reality is we all live from the inside, but we're not as conscious of the fact that we live from the inside. So we don't spend as much time taking care of our insides and taking care of what we are thinking. A wealth mindset is about growth. It's about expansion. It's about taking risks. But over time in our lives, there are certain experiences that we have that essentially create inner wounds lies that we believe about ourselves, about others, about our environment, that limit our ability to push forward and generate the kind of wealth we're talking about. And I'm going to get a bit personal. I'll give you an example of a wound and a lie that I find I have had to battle with and probably still battling with. Yesterday we talked about the imposter syndrome and, dealing with fear. Now, I've been battling with fear, and I had to really spend time to say, where does this fear come from? Fear of failure. And in really spending time and digging deep, I realized it was when I was in reception, aged 4, it started because we had a teacher who, for everything that you got wrong, will take the ruler and hit your hand. So to my mind, I've developed the belief set that making a mistake is wrong. Now, if you believe that making a mistake is wrong, then you're not going to take the risks that you need to take to be able to generate wealth. Another lie is when I was coming here, a dear brother of mine, he said to me, we went out for lunch and said, okay, Sonia, you're going to Nigeria, you've got to be quite mindful. There are men that might approach you. Be very careful about how you rebuff them. Now, he meant very, a good thing. But what I realized I took from that is, 1, men will be fancying you. 2, it's going to be difficult to rebuff them. So as a result, I decided I didn't want anybody to chase me. Nobody should look at me, etc. But if you have that kind of mindset, you don't push yourself out and play beyond, you're always confining yourself. And it was only a few years ago, and Ijama and I were, my colleague, friend, etc., she's there, we were talking to somebody who was our chairman, and the issue came up, and he said, okay, so if they fancy you, then what? And I thought, not true. Then what? Are they going to put me in their pocket and run away with me? No. So, it just released me. So the point here is, we have to address some of the wounds and the lies that we've built up that stop us from really pushing forward and generating the wealth we should.
Thank you very much, Soyade. I'd like you to elaborate perhaps on what some of these methods are, because it's one thing to diagnose the problem, and then so often we get stuck with, so what? Where to from here? Perhaps you can share some of your strategies for overcoming those instances and bouts of fear when imposter syndrome kicks in.
Okay, so it's always about breaking things down. So when you're feeling fear, ask yourself, what am I actually scared of? Like, again, I think it was last year, I was just in a very stressed place. So I literally took myself and went to sit somewhere quiet. And I just did a spider diagram and said, okay, what are all the different things? What's worrying me? As they say, what did they do you? And I broke it all down. And then you say, okay, of this worry, what's the underlying issue? And when I broke it down, I realized it all boiled down to fear of failure. But then the antidote to lies, right, is truth. So the lie is that if I fail, you fail, you're scared that you'll be embarrassed, that there will be shame, and everybody will be looking at you. But what's the truth? Well, if I failed, does it really matter? If I fail, would I not have learned? If I fail, who said anybody's looking at you anyway? Do you understand? So it's identifying, what am I believing? What's the underpinning lie? And what is the truth regarding this situation?
You've spent about 24 years in financial advisory, private equity, audit, mergers and acquisitions, and these are all arenas that are very male-dominated across the globe. Can you please describe to us the different perceptions of wealth between men and women that you've experienced? You've also spent time in the UK. Perhaps explain to us as well the difference in perception and wealth from an African perspective and a British or UK or first world perspective.
Okay, so if we're looking at, and of course I'm going to have to make sweeping generalizations, but you're asking me to. So if we're looking at men versus women, for men, wealth is obviously about money, it's about power, it's about influence. For women, yes, it's about money, but it's money. Okay, so for example, I was, in thinking about this thing, sometimes we as women, we confuse being wealthy with looking wealthy or acting wealthy. They're very different things. You can be wealthy and not actually look wealthy. You can look wealthy, but not be wealthy. And the danger with the latter is that you're not wealthy, you're trying to look wealthy. That itself can lead to poverty because you're not making the right decisions in terms of how you spend money. Okay.
I can feel Soyade is preaching to somebody this morning. Kai, what's your take on this? When I was looking at the Wealthy Her report, 67% of women said, wealth in and of itself is not a goal for them, but rather wealth was about making a positive impact. And 59% believe that the role of wealth is to provide for family security and comfort. So overwhelmingly for women, wealth is about others before ourselves. And don't we tend to do that in a lot of the spheres of our life? Kai, what's your take on that, please?
Okay, so generally, I think women have a different perspective when compared to the men, just like she said. So for women, and from my experience, what I've found or what I've seen, it's really more about influence and the impact that they make from whatever wealth or opportunities that they're creating. So in the course of my work, just thinking about it now with the men that people who I manage their investments, I see women who go out a lot more. It's really about their families, the concerns. So women take on a broader scope. They're carrying on responsibilities with family. They're taking care of extended family. They're making impact. They're creating NGOs. They have a lot of trust. They're setting up foundations. So a lot of it is really about impact and the reach and just trying to give back, at the end of the day. So it's quite different from the men.
Fumi, I'd like to come to you. When you're on an airplane, they always reiterate that please put on your own mask first in the case of a drop in cabin pressure before helping others. And we as women seem to want to put the mask on others before helping ourselves. So, given our behavior, I guess our innate nature to nurture first, to extend out first, to pour into others before pouring to ourselves, in developing this definition of what wealth is, because that's what we're still trying to do you think that perhaps we need to coin our own definition as women for what wealth is and not look to what exists in the world as it stands, because it's clearly not serving us?
Thanks, Samke. I'm glad that the topic is not how to build wealth, but the mindset. And that speaks to what you're saying about our gender and where we're coming from and how we approach wealth building. So if I was to ask the whole, how many people want to get wealthy, I can imagine that all the hands will go up. But in the end, it's about the mindset that is able to create wealth. And I think that is where how a woman approaches wealth and how her mind affects things. Now, let me say what the wealth mindset is not. The wealth mindset is not just that need to have spending freedom. So some people want to talk about wealth, they go, I wish I could have this amount of money in the bank, and then I could buy everything I want to buy. And that is not the mindset that grows wealth. It's very different. That mindset is fed by gratification, what I will do with the money. The mindset that actually grows wealth is the mindset that is creative and disciplined towards creation of value. The first thing Sayade said about wealth is that it is abundance. It's actually storage of value to abundance. So what kind of mindset creates abundance and creates value? It's the mindset that's constantly looking for those opportunities to create value. Somebody came to my office, Samke, and wanted to talk about financial planning. And the first thing she said, she was in her 50s, the first thing she said was, I've been in this job, I've been in my business, but I can't seem to change my car. I want a Lexus SUV. And the first thing I felt was, I thought we were going to talk about how she could build wealth rather than what she couldn't have. So the mindset that is constantly thinking about what she can't have, it's a problem. Because you're constantly chasing those things that you think you can't have. That new car, that new bag, that new whatever. And if we were to think about men, we mentioned men, most men don't actually approach wealth from what I can't have. Number one, they have the mindset they can do. They can create wealth. They're just looking for the way to do it. So the mindset that's going to grow wealth has to go beyond what you can't have and what I am missing and I need to get. It needs to get to, I am disciplined enough to have a plan towards where I'm heading. And where I'm heading is a wealthy space. And I'm going to build that. If we talk specifically to the fact that as women we nurture, and so all the time we're thinking, so the way we approach it will be slightly different, whether you like it or not. There's a Yoruba saying that a child that doesn't have a mother should not have a saw on the back, because that saw is just going to fester, because nobody is going to look after it. So as mothers, as women, we tend to look out for everybody else. But I am saying that that shouldn't stop us from having a belief in self to reach a place where we are stronger. Because to be in a stronger place is to be of better help, really. And therefore, I'm not saying we shouldn't try to help, but we also need to build that mindset that says, I want to be that strong place that can help other people. And getting wealthy is where you can go from. And wealth is not a taboo word. Women tend to honestly think, it's like there are two words that scare women, wealth and power. Women tend to think to want wealth, to want power, is not to be feminine. But who knows? You might just be the salvation of your family or village. So why shouldn't you be wealthy? So no matter how much you want to nurture, it's good to have that mindset of discipline, frugality, towards creation of wealth. Thank you.
Thank you for that example for me. I'd like to now come to you, Ronke, and before I do, just to build on what you mentioned around, the mindset of the 50-year-old plus women that came for financial planning and how that can limit you. I was speaking to one of my life coaches and I was telling her about the challenge I have. And she realized that my behavior and my actions were those of one that wants to run away from poverty, but not those of one who's running towards wealth. You can never get to somewhere. Unless wealth is a specific destination for you, you cannot get there. You'll only ever get what you are actually acting out, which is running away from poverty. I wasn't poor, but I certainly wasn't wealthy. And I wasn't going to become wealthy if my mindset had stayed that way. Ronke, you're in charge of chairing the board of the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, basically giving guarantees and security to people that deposit funds with Nigeria's financial institutions, that no matter what happens to those institutions, they will get their monies. That is obviously a big responsibility for you, and I'd perhaps like you to contribute to this conversation by explaining how professionals can get out of the loop of living paycheck to paycheck, because I'm thinking it comes from this mindset of, as long as I've paid my bills, but not a mindset of as long as I'm building wealth.
Thank you, Samke. Unfortunately, there's a lot of echo on the stage, so I barely heard the other ladies other than Fumi, who was closer. I barely heard Soyade at all. But I mean, it's okay. So I'm just saying this, maybe for future purposes, the organizers can actually sit up here and see how this works. Also, I don't have a microphone. I have to share. Milord, thank you very much. I'm tying a wrapper just like you. So I have comfort. When I walked in this morning and I saw all the smartly dressed ladies, I almost felt out of place. But when you came on stage, I was like, okay, you go, girl. Samke, honestly, the concept of wealth mindset is peculiar and to each person, to each individual. Why do I say this? Wealth itself is defined as, an abundance of either money or possessions. Just hold on to that word possessions. So if yours is the money bit, again, hold it in another hand. Mindset itself is defined as a set of attitudes. So my question is, what attitude do you have towards money? Or what attitude do you have towards possessions? Possessions could be your Birkins. Possessions could be your clothes, could be your jewelry. Possessions could be your investments. Investments could be properties. Investments could be shares. But the one thing I want us all to take out of this room today is it is never too late to start. And you can always, always start small. Fumi and I, we were sharing just as we were waiting to come on the stage this morning. And I said to her, as basic as whatever name you want to call it, the Yorubas call it ajo, some call it isusu, some call it contributions. You actually can start from there. A lot of us always think, I don't earn enough, so I can't put anything away. That's a lie to yourself. Let me tell you, if you cannot save from 100,000 naira that you earn today, if tomorrow morning you woke up and you started earning 1,000,000 naira, you still won't be able to save. Reason is you were happy with your 100,000 naira carrying a guest bag. The day you start earning 1,000,000 naira, your target will be Chanel, will be Birkin. I sit atop the regulator of financial institutions. I see my customers here. Mrs. Aweshika is here. She's my customer. I'm her oga, whether she likes it or not. If I declare her bank unhealthy, so be it. But First Bank, as we all know, is rock solid. We have seen a lot, and we know why financial institutions go down. It's unhealthy practices. People hide things they shouldn't hide. And it's the same with us as individuals. I am happy for the average woman who gets her bills picked. But please do me one favor, sisters. Get interested. Even if daddy picks the bills, just know what they are. Just know what those bills are. I had a staff that lost her husband, this was many years ago. And when I went by her house to check on her, she was at her desk, writing out everything. As at that time, she didn't even know how DSTV, the cable, got paid in the house. Like I said, you don't have to be the one to pick it up. But please get interested. Know how the house runs. Know how much you spend on the house every month. It's very good for you to know. Nobody prays for the bad things. What are those bad things? You become widowed, you become divorced, or bring it closer home, you lose your job. Trust me, a lot of us cannot survive 3 months after if any of these bad things happen to us. So is it not time for us to pull the plug, sit down and map out a roadmap of sorts to guide us? Also, please do not take wealth mindset as solely financial in isolation. Okay? Closely and correlated to that, to financial wealth are your social. What network do you have? You know, it's one thing to have money, but you realize that some people, they seek power thereafter. How do you network? Power comes in different forms. How influential are you? There is also the cliche, health is wealth. How healthy are you? Health is wealth. We all say it, but bring it closer home today. How wealthy are you when it comes to your health? How do you look after yourself? A lot of us were embodiments of different things, but we really don't care. As long as I can buy that Birkin, it doesn't matter. Also, there is the time wealth. How do you manage your time? A lot of us sit down on the internet and slay and filter. It's okay. Slay on. My favorite subject. I abhor social media. I know it's the future. The millennials are here, and I'm sure they're saying, old school. Yes, I am. But you know what? If you don't do anything constructive to add value to yourself, trust me, you can never regain and recapture that time.
Thank you, Ronke. I'm being given evil eyes by my timekeeper. And Fumi and Kai, I owe you your own time to speak to us about different ways of changing from going paycheck to paycheck, analyzing and assessing different ways of investing, and also creating multiple income streams. But I've been asked to open up to the floor for Q&A. I'm going to do so for about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to come back for you to wrap up on your topics if it hasn't come through in the questions, and then we close. So I'm going to open up to the floor. 20 minutes only. If you do not get your question in that 20 minutes, I am cutting time. I'm flying out of the country, so you can't find me. I will cut time at 20 minutes. So
thank you so much, Sam
please
K.
have the roving microphones, and let's take some questions.
Okay, Sam K, we're actually doing 15 minutes of questions, so we're going to take 2 questions. 15 minutes, yes.
You are changing my program.
Sorry. We're taking 3 questions from the floor and 1 question from the live stream audience. So if you have a question, please walk up to the microphone, and we will be cutting it off at a certain time. So we can have 1 person there and 2 people here. We will be taking 1 from the live stream audience. So live stream, please prepare your question. You can come and start so that we don't waste more time. Please go ahead. Go ahead, please. The microphone is on.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's my first time here. And I just want to say thank you to my mentor, Mrs. Aziz, for the opportunity to be here. My question borders on financial mindset in terms of wealth. I like what Mrs. Shaw said in terms of our mindset, our attitude. I'm a startup, okay? I know. I'm a startup, and I've done survey on women's businesses, why they're not scaling. Despite the fact that we're afraid of failing or we have failed, do we really learn? How do we help startup in terms of embracing the technological side of things to help them scale? Because I've been able to help a few women in terms of digital marketing strategy to take their women from where it was to be able to scale. How do we help that to be able to impact that on their businesses? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, should I take the questions
Please.
and then, okay.
Let's take about
Sorry.
2-3 questions.
Okay, so the question from that side, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Amy Shombusho. I'm a smile designer, clinical director of Smile 360 Dental Specialist, a 5-time back-to-back award-winning dental practice. My question to you, first of all, I would like to say that I've been struggling with the imposter syndrome due to the fact that there's a stigma about health professionals not talking about wealth. As Auntie Ronke said, health is wealth, wealth is health, but is anything wrong with a health professional looking healthy, showing health, wealth, and making money? So I would just want to get your advice on how, in a certain profession, you can go ahead building a vision, having a clear purpose, and not being shy about being, looking, and showing wealth.
Thank you so much. The final question from the floor, and then live stream question.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Odwanya Ajike. I'm with Falcon Corporation. One of the panelists, I believe Ms. Okoli, talked about where her fear started from, and that was when she was a child. And I know we live in an age where fast money, everyone wants to make money fast. And I've noticed that this starts from very young, you see very young people starting with this mindset. So is there something, a sort of education that can be done for children to know about, to have this wealthy mindsets from young ages? And I don't think it should be gender specific as well. Is there something that can be done towards that?
Thank you very much. Amazing questions. Sorry, I have to take one question from the live stream audience, please.
So from the live stream, we have Bolanle from South Africa. She's asking, what are the exact steps you can take to change your mindset if you know that you have a problem with wealth generation? As in your mindset about wealth generation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So the first question was around how we help startups. And as someone who has been in the investment world and private equity, I think, Soyade, if you could please address that question for us.
Sadly, I think a lot of us might have struggled to hear the questions. But what I thought I got from the first one was help startups embrace technology to scale. Was that it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, part of it really goes back to attitude. The startup, regardless of what sector you're in, you have to ask yourself, what does success look like? And what do I need for me to be able to achieve that success? Each person, each entrepreneur has to define that. And then, if I know this is what success looks like and this is what I need, what are my current challenges? What is stopping me? And again, we can look at the external things like what is it in our society? Am I in something that needs power, et cetera, et cetera? And then also, as part of that, ask, okay, what technology is required for me to be able to do this more effectively? And one way of doing that is to look at what has been done in other places, in other environments, not just what's being done here in Nigeria, because that can also give you a good sense of sort of what good looks like and how technology can be used in your own sector.
Thank you. The next question was around health professionals, or I guess professionals in industries outside of finance, and how they can build their wealth and get that balance between being wealthy and looking wealthy. And I know you raised, Ronke, that health is wealth. But Kai, you're in investments and you oversee investment managers, and I think you're best placed to actually answer that question for us. I know when we were talking before the conference, you spoke about even a financial cycle that you have to help individuals with their investments, and I think this is a great opportunity to take us through that philosophy.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sanke. This is for everyone, not just the professionals or people who are just doing business or in every sector. I think it covers everyone pretty much. So I just want to reiterate some of the things we said early, that one of the things in creating wealth, if for her and anyone asking, just because we're losing time, and I just think it's important we build on it. The first thing is around the psychology of money, and what we've been saying since we started is the script. I see it as there's an unconscious script, and I think you'll answer the question for the last person that called in. It'll probably, what I'm going to say would also help to answer some of this. So there's an unconscious script that has been written. For several women, we're grown, we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 20s, but there is a script that we're actually running by. So we save or we don't save. We invest, we don't invest. Your financial planner or banker calls you to say, put money aside, I want you to take out this investment. But what is the script is like you're writing, the script, and then you act the movie. So there's an unconscious money script, which is our feelings, our thoughts, our experiences. Some of it comes from culture. Some of it comes from family, just going to high school and, being bullied. For instance, I had a friend, I still have a friend, sorry, she's still here. I have a friend who, in their family, their dad said to them, money doesn't grow on trees, you will never amount to anything, whatever you do. So it was all negative, negative, negative. And I'm going to build on this to tell you why this is important for me. I've seen people who make money, lose money, and in the process, there's an internal state that hasn't been dealt with. So we're talking about the psychology of money this morning, and it's very important for us to trace back. What is that script? What is the psychology that has been unconsciously created? And what is that blueprint? So you build a house and you see the finished house, but there's always a blueprint. So when you say to people, invest money, save money, plan for the future, build a financial plan, what's holding them back are the bondages, the scripts, the blueprints, the foundations, the internal state that hasn't been dealt with. So I'd like to go to the technical, which is what I do every day. But I've also seen that before you actually help people to create wealth, like my co-panelists have said, if the internal state is not dealt with, the issues will come. So 2 tips about just quickly what you can do to change the state, because we've been saying it, is to believe that you deserve wealth. For instance, my friend's narrative was, she didn't believe. I'm speaking to a 40-plus grown-year-old, and I'm speaking to her for over 10 years to put money aside. Culturally, she doesn't believe it. She never saw her mom putting money aside. Women just don't hold money. So for several years, 15 more years to retirement, she doesn't have anything. So that is the first thing to do, is to believe that you deserve wealth. And also developing a consciousness for wealth, developing the consciousness and looking at the opportunities that exist, in the space. Organize yourself to matter to people, because as you see that you're giving back, which is what I mentioned earlier, you're giving back, in the process of giving back, then you're able to somehow create wealth and start the process. But point here is you need to deal with the internal state. The written script has to be written again. So you've written it, but it's been written somehow by culture or environment, but it has to be written. That takes me to the first tip on investment, and I'll try and run them quickly. The first one is you're dealing with what I would call your personality, you're understanding your profile. So in financial planning or investments, we try to get people to build the plan from their own perspective. So what is your profile? What is your profile, your personality? You see people, I've met people who are money avoiders, people who are money amassers, people who are risk takers. Understand what your own profile is. Very important, because someone else can come and say to you, put money aside, invest, plan. But until we speak to your own profile, then we're missing it. Profile becomes important. For instance, if you have somebody who is a risk taker, they want to be able to invest in equities or take more risky sort of investments, right? Whereas somebody who is of the same age, not a risk taker, will be profiled differently. So the profiling is very, very important. Right?
And the second tip, please. You said you have 2?
Yes. Okay. 1 second. There are actually more. The next thing would be your investment objectives. What do you want to achieve?
Investment objectives.
Your objectives. So you're a 40-year-old woman, you have a 5-year-old. What would be the objective for this child? Your child is 5, and then in 15 years, the child needs to go to college, needs to go to high school. So very important is timing for you. What structures are you going to put in place for that child to just ensure that they've taken place? So investment objectives. Then your goals. Your goals are very critical as well. Your goals, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to buy a home? Are they short-term goals? Do you want to buy a home in 5 years? That's medium-term. Long-term would be your child's education in 15 years, maybe travel at some point. So determine what your goals are depending on where you are at a particular stage, which is what I call the life circle.
And where you're trying to go. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Talking about the exact steps to change your mindset, someone who has broken barriers in her career. Ronke, please tell us how you did it.
That's putting me on the spot, Sam K. Breaking barriers. What steps can you take? I said it. Start little. I'm building just on what Kai just said. You must have a goal. Define what it is that you set to achieve. Are you trying to put money away for the future? Then create a special account. Savings. Start putting money there. Are you trying to buy a home? Start talking to a mortgage bank or something. But like I also said, it doesn't have to be techy. It doesn't have to be sophisticated. Start little. Think out of the box. Ask yourself, what can you invest in? 2 years ago, I sat with a couple of friends. We looked at each other, hitting the big 5-0. And it dawned on us, what do we really have? And then we decided, let's go into agriculture. Today, we're proud farmers, owners of 300 hectares of an oil palm plantation. We didn't have the technical skill or expertise, and we reached out to someone who said, I will invest in your project, but I have to be your partner. You can't always have it all. So if you have such ideas at the back of your end, don't always think grab, grab, grab. No, I don't want somebody to take in my, I don't want partnership. You will need partnership at some point or the other. Think those ideas and see who can bring life into them. It doesn't have to be farming either. There are different SMEs. People invest in different things on a daily basis. I know people who have mini telecoms companies. What do I mean by those? People who have people trading. It's like a network in credits and what have you. But you see, every little thing you can to bring in that extra income, because you see, a fixed amount, once you earn a salary on a monthly basis, trust me, because it's fixed, your income, your expenditure is also fixed, and it doesn't change. Instead, it's the rate of inflation that keeps it galloping. But your salary does not increase at the same rate as your expenses. So you just always have to think out of the box and think what extra I can do. And that investment is not in self, please. You can't recycle clothes. You can't recycle your shoes. Spend less on self.
Thank you very much for that, Ronke. My timekeeper, how much time do I have?
I understand we have 5 more minutes. We want to squeeze in. Do you have all your questions answered?
There's one more question that I'd like to pose at Fumi. That's why I'm asking how much time we have.
5 minutes, but let me throw this one real quick that came from the audience as well. About compulsive saving. How do you overcome that? If you're a compulsive saver, how do you work on that?
Okay, perfect. I think I'll bundle both questions to you, Fumi, to first of all teach us how we can. Thank you very much. Thank you. To Fumi, I'd like to address the question of how we can teach our children to develop a wealthy mindset, and then combine it with this question to say, how do we stop them from being compulsive savers? So how do we maintain that balance between creating wealth, having a wealth mindset, but still enjoying ourselves? And also, I guess if you want to add some insights from your topic of creating multiple income streams, you may.
Right, thank you, Samke. I'm glad we talk about our children when it comes to wealth creation, because a lot of the things that affect us in adulthood starts when we are young. The way money is talked about in the house, the way things are talked about. So if the children want whatever and we are willing to give them whatever, they don't, well, it's the opposite of money doesn't grow on trees. It's actually saying money grows on trees. If you want it, you have it. And that is what comes into adulthood with a lot of people. The other side of that I have said to a lot of people about children, I think...
5 minutes. Closing remarks. For me, I'll let you wrap.
I think that children should be made aware of how money works very early on. So as a grandmother's child, I had a wooden box. I had kolo, for those who understand Yoruba well. I had a wooden box. I couldn't open it, but I had a way into it. I could put money into it. It's at the end of the year that my grandmother would open it, and she would be able to do something for me. That is an early training in delaying gratification. And that is important in building wealth. So children should be taught that early. But as children become teenagers, they're no longer children. And we need to begin to bring them. I always use the culture of the Indians and the Lebanese when it comes to bringing children, letting children understand wealth growth. Very much earlier on, their children are kind of involved in the business. They understand how that business is working, and therefore, as a family, there is no struggle about the fact that there are certain kind of holidays we can take and there are certain kind we can't take. Basically, because as a family, they understand the monetary objectives of that family. What was the other question?
I think my timekeeper will tell me if I allow us to take that question.
Okay, multiple streams of income. Do you want it now or later?
I'll take the audience's word on that. I will risk never being invited to WIMBIZ again and give Fumi 3 minutes, please, to give us some tips on creating multiple income streams.
Multiple streams of income is a dear topic after my heart, because we all, no matter what we do, need another source of income. Now, what do I mean by that? Even if it means the other spouse has an income, because if we are all in one income dependent situation, we need multiple streams of income, and it could just be the other spouse. So when you see a couple where the other person doesn't work, I worry for them. I'm thinking, what will happen if this person were to just fall? You know? So it is important that you think about multiple streams of income so that you can wean yourself away from the dependence of one source. The problem with dependence on one source is the fact that it creates fear, actually. You are afraid. You are at work. When I was in career, the reason you're at work and you take all kinds of things and know you cannot resign and know you cannot work is because your car, your money, your home, everything is dependent on that job. So we need to wean ourselves away from a one source situation. Now, when it comes to looking for multiple streams of income, I'll give you a couple of advices. One is that try as much as possible that your alternative source does not become such a distraction that it disturbs your core source of money. So whatever it is you're doing can be done together with what your core business is. That's number one. Number two, it's usually useful to have a purpose for that other source. Because if you don't, it's just, yes, you end up spending it. Because the income comes in and it goes. This is where I talk about, a lot of people were asking, so how do I start? How do I start? How you start is going away and being truthful to yourself and make a plan. Like Sonyade said, what does it look like, a good, wealthy place? What does it look like to you? Your children in the best schools, you living where you want to live, you having the 1.5 holidays in the year, you retiring in the village. All of that is fine because we're all different and it's going to be different.
Point number 3 for me. I'm getting looks that even my Nigerian visa will not be approved in future. Point number 3.
What's point number 3? Okay. Oh, you're counting. Okay. The fact is that you must have an objective for your savings. You must. I was in the middle of a sentence. You see, I'm getting old, so you have to be careful. I was talking about the money.
Give us one closing remark. Our program director is on the podium.
All right. Multiple streams of income. Make sure that it has a purpose and it's working towards that future you want. And whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ronke Sokefun, Fumi Oyetunji, Kai Oga, Soyade Okofoli, and myself, Samgem Songo, thank you very much for welcoming us. Goodbye.
Thank you very much to our wonderful panelists and our moderator. Please stay on stage. I'm going to call a member of the Board of Trustees, Mrs. Awoshika, to please come and present the gifts. A round of applause for Mrs. Awoshika as she comes. All right, Mrs. Awoshika, once again, ladies and no gentlemen, ladies, a round of applause. Okay, as that's happening, we're going to be taking a tea break in just a moment. A very short tea break compared to what's in your brochure because of time. So we'll be taking a 10-minute break, but please don't get up just yet. We're not going on the break just yet.